So this is going to be a bit of a first for me because I've never done a replay that I wasn't a part of, at least none that I can remember. So this is going to be interesting, and also this does serve another purpose because I have recently acquired the updated version of my old editing software, so hopefully this is going to be slightly higher quality because the one I had for the past couple of weeks has been a little bit blurry, so hopefully this will eliminate that and hopefully I can start doing things in 1080p with a bit more consistency and without any sort of, well, without YouTube compression butchering the overall resolution, but we'll see. So there are 4 armies. There's a free-for-all on a very simple map. It's one of the maps that was in vanilla, I believe. So there's nothing too fancy about the map, but a free-for-all is always interesting because it's interesting to see the dynamics between the players. So R9Z10 is the one who sent me the replay, and he is playing as the Woodland Realms. He's got 1 unit of the Elder Royal Council. I assume this is where his general is. Yeah, there's no, the general is not in this unit. Interesting. It's very much intended to be a general's bodyguard unit. Very strong archer unit. He's got a couple of units of Beng as well. Again, pretty strong. There's no hit points on these guys, but they're still very good at range, as all the Elven archers are. He's got some units of Dirith. They're good for the elves because obviously shields. He's also got more Dirith actually. He's got quite a lot of them, so he's got a pretty survivable line considering that they're elves. He's also got the Elder Kingsguard. I assume this is where his general is then. You don't get the Kingsguard and not have the general. Yet there he is. There's Thranduil. So he's also got some more cav. The Woodland Realms cav is surprisingly good. He's got some Elder Pathfinders as well. He's also got a catapult. There's a couple of units down here. Of course, links to the ModDB and the Discord will be down below, as will the timestamp of when the battle actually starts. He's got Sindar Blade Masters and Elder Palace Guards. So this is clearly... they've given themselves quite a lot of money because he's got a full line of Dirith, Elder Royal Council, a full complement of cav, and some strong shock infantry. So these are going to be very, very elite armies. And he is facing directly off against the High Elves, so an Elven Rumble, a couple of Elder Enway archers, some Noldor Elders, so a very similar archer line, although the Elder Enway do have the slight advantage of being good versus armour, but that won't actually help them against the Woodland Realms, so... you know, it's going to be quite interesting to see how that plays out. We also have Elder Enway Spearmen, very defensive unit, of course. Another catapult facing off against them. Mithlon Nobles, Sword Quindi, Elder Enway Swordsmen, Storm Raiders. And back here we have Elder Enway Nobles and Imladris Cavalry. There's also another unit of cavalry out here on the flank, which is Elder Enway Lancers. I think that the Woodland Realms actually do have the slight advantage here because of the elevation and the type of units they've brought. They're a little bit better equipped to deal with missiles in this situation than the High Elves are, but we'll see. Another army that is facing directly off against the Woodland Realms, so that's something they will probably have to deal with pretty quickly, is Harad. Want some Flame of Imladris. By the way, who's playing the High Elves? Thorn. So, Harad. Southron Archers, not going to be as good as the Elven Archers, of course, but they're still, you know, quite a lot of volume can come from these guys. We also have the Catapult, so there's going to be a lot of catapult action. A lot of dismounted Serpent Guard again. Not as good as the likes of the Dirith or the High Elven Infantry, but there is more of them. There is a lot of cavalry for Harad as well, especially when you count the fact that might be 2 units of Mumakil. Southron Lancers, Variag Lancers, and Southron Lancers. These cav units individually are not particularly fantastic, but when used to back up the Mumakil, they could be devastating. No, that is just 1 unit of Mumakil, but still, individually, that'll be the strongest unit on the field. There might be some Hashari and other hidden units around as well. It's hard to tell in this sort of situation. And then way back over here we have Rohan, played by Tornado. Helmingas, again, better archers in melee against armour, so in that case they won't be all that useful in this situation, it must be said, but even so, they still offer an archer force for Rohan. Rohan Spearmen, they're going to be absolutely hammered by most other things in melee, but if they can close the jaws on enemy cavalry and trap them, that'll be very good for them. Dismounted Royal Guard, of course, very strong spear unit. More spearmen, there's a lot of spearmen. Some Yawling Axemen, a catapult. Looking at all the cavalry Rohan have, though, that it becomes clear where all their money went. Marshals of the Red and Yawling Swordsmen. Let's have a look at all their cavalry. So they've got some Royal Guard. Back here they've got their catapult, of course. They've also got some Aerid Heavy Lancers. Over here that looks like the Helmhammers. Yes, it is. And more Yawling Swordsmen and Aerid Heavy Lancers. It's going to be an interesting battle, I think. We'll go over to where the Woodland Realms are at because they're the ones most likely to get into the fight the quickest. Let's see here. So first combat is going to be between the High Elves and the Woodland Realms. It's going to be a skirmish, of course, which Against an armoured archer force, the High Elves will probably win, but the Woodland Realms are not so reliant on their armour. So it's very possible the Woodland Realms could win it. Although this unit of Bang is very, very effectively being zoned out. You can see over here some of the Elder Enway have fallen, but they are faring a little better at the moment. Well, I say that, that unit is very much not doing so well. So Harad is sending forward their cavalry first. This cavalry is all pretty fragile, if I'm honest. They probably should have waited to bring up their Mumakil, because these Elder Kingsguard and the Elder Pathfinders will absolutely annihilate these cav units in melee. Although they are light cav, so they are pretty fast. So provided they keep them at a distance, I suppose it's just to stop the Woodland Realms cav from coming in. Unfortunately though, with their cavalry distracted by the Harad light cavalry, the High Elves are able to get a good charge off onto the Elder Royal Council with their Imladris cavalry. It's going to be a big problem for the Woodland Realms. Now they are able to get the surround off now, but their archer line is being very efficiently dealt with by this cavalry, and that means the High Elves are going to have the skirmish advantage regardless of what they do, even with that catapult firing. The Elder Kingsguard are facing off against the Elder Enway Nobles. This should be an interesting one. The Elder Kingsguard, of course, have had the numbers of their unit increased to match the Elder Enway Nobles, so the Elder Kingsguard should probably win this, actually. Even so, this is going to be very costly for both. I think the Elder Enway Nobles realise they're not going to win, though, so they are retreating. The Elven Cavalry is retreating en masse, apart from the Imladris Cavalry, which got stuck. Back over here, the Elder Pathfinders, zoning away the Haradrim Cavalry. So this is certainly a very bloody fight at the moment. The High Elves are getting a taste of their own medicine with a few charges, but the Elder Enway Spearmen will make it much more difficult for the Woodland Realms Cavalry to get the level of charges off that the High Elves were able to get. Also, those Storm Raiders that are approaching in the background are anti-cav as well to an extent, so this cav does need to be careful it doesn't get caught. Let's have a look. How many archers does the High Elves have left? One unit of Elder Enway and a slightly depleted unit of Noldor Elders. What's going on back over here? What's the Harad Cavalry up to? They're trying to surround these Elder Pathfinders, but with stuff like South-Run Lancers and Veriag Lancers, I'm honestly not convinced they'll do very well, although it's actually, they're not going to try and surround, they're going to try and get a charge off on the Dirith. It's a pretty decent charge, although again, this cav is not of the highest quality, so they didn't actually get a kill. Light cav, of course, less mass, so it is difficult. They do probably need to surround these. Well, now here come the Mumakil. This is certainly going to be a problem for the Elven factions in particular, and Rohan didn't bring any javelins, so the Mumakil might actually be the match winners here. If they are used correctly, of course. Storm Raiders are running around. We see these elk in the background, trying to go after the Elder Enway Nobles, but now the Elder Kingsguard are close to the Noldor Elders, and that missile damage is going to be very bad for them. They need to get out of here. Now they're being charged by the Nobles, fixed in position, being shot with arrows at the front. Thranduil is very much in a lot of danger here. Let's have a look. The infantry clash has also begun. It's a little hard to keep track of everything in a free-for-all. Dirith up against Elder Enway Swordsmen. I would imagine the Elder Enway Swordsmen would win this, simply because they've got higher attack. And the Dirith are rather isolated, and over here there's another unit of Spearmen that's ready to surround them. These Storm Raiders are ripping their way through archers. They won't have so much luck against the Elder Royal Council, but they will still hold their own. I'm a little bit confused as to what's going on back here. I mean, I'm surprised he hasn't deployed his Sindar Blade Masters or his Elder Palace Guard yet. These Sword Quindi are not going to do very well against the Dirith. Let's see, where are the Mumakil? Are they cresting the hill? Yes, they are. The Mumakil certainly have a lot more weaknesses than they used to. Fire arrows have always been a bit of a problem for them because of the panic mechanic, but the ballistas, of course, have always been so as well, but the javelins now, that's the main kryptonite of these Mumakil. This could be sufficient to deal with them. The catapult is trying to shoot at them, I see. The Mumakil's archers are trying to kill the catapult crews. It wasn't a great shot, they needed it to be better than that. Look at this. The Mumakil seem to be having some pathfinding issues on the rocks. What's going on down here? The Elder Royal Council squaring off against the Storm Raiders. Let's get a close-up. The Storm Raiders with their giant swords. That's why they're good against cavalry, of course. I think one of the best looking units in the game as well. Although, in terms of overall effectiveness, the Eldarenway Swordsmen are 9 times out of 10 probably the better choice. Because the only thing the Storm Raiders have over them is the effectiveness against Cav. Like now the Mumakil are just sort of smashing their way through the Wood Elven lines. When I say Wood Elven, Woodland realms. These Eldarenway Spearmen want none of that, so they're getting out of the way. Oof. The Woodland realms have really found themselves sandwiched, which is how they were sort of... It's how they deployed, I guess. All the Harad infantry is trying to form up against Rohan. Rohan hasn't actually done anything yet, I don't think. What's this over here? We have... Oh no, they do have stuff going on. Rohan, Cav. But really the main source of the battle is over here. Rohan is biding their time, which honestly means they're probably going to win, because all the other armies are going to have taken severe losses by the time they get to Rohan if they're not careful. The Elder Palace Guard is bravely challenging the Mumakil. They should actually get some decent damage done to it, but if the Mumakil stands still, but this is the problem they have. They just get knocked over every time. Definitely a scary unit to take on. Now the Sindar Blade Masters are on their way in. Very fast, but not exactly the most durable. Oh, there goes the Mumakil. Burnt alive by the Fire Archers. The Elder Royal Council, although this might be the end of the the end of the Woodland Realms challenge, simply because it's certain that the Mumakil are focusing on them. Although the High Elves are pretty beat up as well. They don't have many units left. They do have the Nolder though, and they have their own catapult. Oof. Nice catapult hit there. It's possible the Mumakil might retreat now, simply because they've taken quite a lot of damage, and they don't want to be doing the High Elves' work for them. Look at this. The Elder Royal Council are going to shoot into the backs of the Mumakil though, with fire arrows. Definitely one of the strongest archer units in the game. No Mumakil have fallen yet though, other than the one over there. A tragic sight to see a dead Mumakil, especially one that's been burnt. Let's see what the Woodland Realms have left. They have their Elder Palace Guard and Sindar Blade Masters. They also have some Dirith.
Our foolish general has thrown his life away. Perhaps our chances of victory.
That was, I assume, the Harad general. I mean, I think. So I suppose the Harad general is indeed dead. Was he in the Mumakil unit? I mean, the Mumakil models haven't died, so I don't think so. Was he in the Southron Lancers unit? That's a very fragile place to put your general if that's the case. Charging right into the front of these Elder Royal Council, but again, not enough mass from this light cav. If it's just to sort of try and retreat their Mumakil, it's a good move. But yeah, the Elder Royal Council, very tough in melee as well as at range. You can see the catapult. Is it still going after the Mumakil? I think it is, or at least it was. Yeah, the Mumakil are retreating to the Harad lines. That's a good move because they may have lost some of their hit points at this point, but they don't want to do the High Elven player's job for him. And I do think the Woodland Realms are actually in better shape than the High Elves. The catapult might be key if the High Elves use it on the Woodland Realms, but they are pretty spread out. So it's going to be interesting. But this Elder Royal Council, it's going to be between them and the Noldor as to who manages to get the upper hand here. The High Elves are retreating further. Catapult shots coming in. Rohan still hasn't moved. I'm not really a big fan of that in free-for-alls, if I'm honest, if one player sort of sits back, because while it will almost inevitably win you the game, it's not very sporting, but still, the Rohan cavalry will probably be very significant in the late game, now that Harad's cav and their Mumakil has been whittled down. And the elves, they really don't have much left, and they're continuing to tear into one another. Sindar Blade Masters, still a very strong unit. They may not have hit points anymore, but they are still very fast and deadly. Let's see what the High Elves are actually doing. They seem to just be waiting. Again, if it's going to come down to a skirmish, it really depends on whether the catapult can get a decent hit off. Where are the Noldor? Are they still a thing? There are still 5 Eldarenway archers, 2 Mithlon nobles. Where are the Noldor? Are they hiding? Or are they dead? I can't believe they're dead. There was still a decent oh, there they are. They were hiding. There are 36 of them. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. The Noldor in melee individually are stronger than the Royal Council, I think. But at range, it's a little bit more of a different story. The Elder Council have got higher base damage. Let's see here. So it is turning into a skirmish. I think based on the terrain, the Woodland Realms certainly have the advantage, but both players have got the problem that their armies have been... Well, they've thrown their armies at one another and neither one of them have come out of it looking great. The catapult crew still lives. So they managed to reman their artillery. The High Elves are also much... Well, they're clustered together a little bit more than the Woodland Realms, so it's going to be easier for them to get a decent shot off. Right, let's go back over here because this is another skirmish that's happening. Oh, that was a nice looking hit. Yes, it was. I think it was just on catapult crew, or was it on Axeman? Now it looks like the Rohan infantry is going to make their first move, mainly spearmen and Helmingars. The catapult for Harad needs to do work here because the Rohan cav advantage that they have now is going to be significant, even if they only have one sort of really dangerous unit in the Royal Guard. These Arid heavy lancers are still going to be a very big problem, the Helm Hammers as well, and the Marshals of the Red. Harad have got it all to do, but they do have the terrain advantage and they do still have some Mumakil. If they can deploy them at the right time, they still have a part to play. I'm not sure what they're going after. Are they going after the catapult? I don't think so. Going after the blob would be a pretty good idea. Going after these dismounted Royal Guard, especially. What have we got over here? It looks like the Rohan player is going to deploy some Arid heavy lancers on the flank. I'm not sure whether he's going to go right over to the other side and try and take out some elves, just to make sure they aren't an interference in the late game, or if he's going to try and just like box the Harad player in. Make it so he can't send out his light cav over here, because Variag Lancers won't beat Arid Heavy Lancers, I don't think. Meanwhile, we have the Rohan infantry advancing. The hill is actually covering them as they advance a little bit, but when they get onto this final stretch, the Southron Archers and the catapult will have free reign. Southron Archers and Helmingars are probably pretty similar in terms of their effectiveness, to be honest. Again, another miss by the catapult. 3 misses. It's very frustrating when that happens. These Rohan Spearmen, I think, are just there to sort of prevent the Helmingars from being charged by the cav. Most of the Rohan army is still back, and if we see over here, it looks like the red and green of the High Elves and the Woodland Realms are about to clash once more. The Noldor Elders are charging into battle against Sindar Blade Masters. I suppose they ran out of ammo when the Woodland Realms still had them, so they had to charge. But the Noldor are going to find themselves surrounded by Dirith, Elder Palace Guard, and Sindar Blade Masters, so they are going to lose pretty hard. So it does look like the High Elves are going to be in a bit of a bit of a tight spot. Elder Enway Spearmen. Yeah, Elder Enway Spearmen are tough, but they don't quite have that extra little bit of bite that it's going to take on the Elder Palace Guard, I fear. Very, very good unit, the Elder Palace Guard. Woodland Realms have got a lot of high tier stuff that's very scary. And it's what really sets them apart from the Elves of Lothlorien, in my opinion. Might get a screenshot here. Yes, I think I will. Saves me getting one later. Yes, the Woodland Realms, it looks like they're going to be victorious here. Although these Elder Enway nobles, are only 6 of them, so there aren't really enough of them to make a real difference. The Woodland Realms might lose this flank, but here in the centre, the High Elves are going to really, really struggle. Sending up some more units now, a catapult crew. Things are getting desperate. Let's see what's going on over here, because it's... Ah! Perfect. The Rohirrim line has met the Harad line. The Serpent Guard will hold pretty easily against Rohan Spearmen. There might be some Yawling Axemen mixed in there as well. If we see back here, the Mumakil just running through the Rohan lines, and the Rohirrim infantry is notoriously fragile, and they are not going to do well against Mumakil. And usually Rohan do have javelins in their army, which usually makes Mumakil a poor choice against them, but there were no javelins here. It looks like the Mumakil are running amok. But look at this, they're just mulching their way into these Yawling swordsmen. Again, this is going to be very good for Harad, because it's going to mean that the losses they sustained early are going to be balanced out a little bit. Again, most of the units that are probably going to die. Oh, well, there goes the High Elven General at the hands of the Palace Guard. Anyway, as this is going on, let's go back over to the Elven front. Everything's happening all at once, as it often does in a free-for-all. So yeah, the Woodland Realms are going to win here. These swordsmen and spearmen are left. They're doing their best, but ultimately the Palace Guard, the Royal Council, these are the two units that are going to win the Woodland Realms this front, I believe. The Catapult Crew as well, that's not going to do much. I mean, Catapult Crew versus Catapult Crew. Let's go back over here. The Mumakil are still just running through the Rohan lines. There are still 3 of them as well. So they haven't really made any inroads. They really need to get something like the Helm Hammers. They definitely need to get the Royal Guard to sort of make it so they can't just run through the infantry anymore. But yes, taking them head on is not usually the best idea, but here it's probably the best way to stop the bleeding, because, you know, most of these men will get back up, but they are taking casualties every time the Mumakil run through their lines. And the Mumakil are definitely paying for themselves here. Of course, the Harad main line is smaller because of how expensive the Mumakil are. That was a close range catapult shot, and it actually did pay off, and there's some friendly fire from Rohan as well. Several units of spearmen are breaking as a result. That's what Harad needs. They need to form up their Serpent Guard again. Their Southron archers are still firing. Some of them are pretty depleted, but their infantry line is going to hold. But my concern is, as soon as those Mumakil fall, which one of them have... Oh, and a friendly fire hit. That is very, very disappointing for the Harad player, hitting his own Mumakil with a catapult volley. And that might be that Mumakil routing, I think. Well, there they go. That's it. The Mumakil are now gone, which means Rohan are once again in the driving seat. They did take losses from the Mumakils charging around, but it wasn't honestly all that much. And Harad, they're in much more of a sticky situation. They do have their catapult firing down. It's going to be significant. But this Serpent Guard is going to have to hold off Helm Hammers, Marshals of the Red, and I don't think they're going to be able to do it. Let's go back over to the Elven front over here, because there is still fighting to be had. And the Woodland Realms, their army is tiny now. Elder Enway Swordsman is all that remains. But yeah, the Palace Guard. What's going on over here? I think these spearmen are going to finish off this unit of Dirith. But ultimately the Woodland Realms should be victorious here. And that leaves them in a bit of an interesting situation to try and figure out, because really the only option they have open to them then is to try and team up with the Harad player and try and thin out some of these Rohan numbers. Some of these regrouped Rohan spearmen are coming in to fight, but once again they're tired, so they'll quickly be repelled by Serpent Guard, much more disciplined. More Rohan spearmen. Southron archers still firing, trying to get some kills on the Royal Guard are looking pretty haggard actually. That's not great for Rohan. The catapult volleys, oh, nice hit. So all is not lost for Harad yet, but Rohan certainly in the driving seat with just their numbers that they have left. If they deploy them all at once, there's not much Harad could do to stop them. But if they keep committing piecemeal like this, Harad have got a pretty decent chance. Especially if those catapults hit like the Marshals of the Red and the Helm Hammers, but then the Rohan catapult is also firing. The Rohan player has had much more rotten luck though with his. He got a few kills on those Southron archers back there, but other than that, that hit into the back of his own spearman that caused them to rout was very unfortunate for him. Of course the Harad player killed his own Mumakil, so that's the nature of artillery. These Royal Guard. Trying to prevent these last few Serpent Guard from advancing. They really need to kill off these Royal Guard pretty quickly. Otherwise they could be a real nuisance. Again, the Rohan catapult is trying to shoot uphill, so it's a little bit more risky and, well, awkward. While the Harad catapult has got a nice downhill shot. All of the Rohan army is now in loose, so they're trying to sort of mitigate the damage. It's a good move. The Helminghast still firing is probably one of the things which puts Rohan really in the driving seat, because their archers are still just going to be firing into the Serpent Guard. And there's not much Harad can do about it, to be honest. I think their Southron archers are now out of ammo because they are trying to challenge the Royal Guard in melee, which is not their intended purpose. So yeah, Harad are in a bit of a... You know, there's not much they can do. I mean, they can try and charge in, but they're just going to get overwhelmed by the sheer amount of Rohan forces they had left. And the Rohan player sitting back and allowing the fights to progress as they will is the smart move in the end. And it is going to lead to him being victorious, I think, unless the Woodland Realms and Harad join forces. Then it might be a little bit more tricky. The Elder Palace Guard are good enough to take on the Helmhammers and the Marshals of the Red, which you see here. And Harad do still have, well, if that arrow fire keeps up they won't, but they do still have the numbers to take on all of these Yawling Swordsmen and Axemen. What have we got here? Royal Guard are routing. Again, the Harad player has committed one unit of Serpent Guard and the rest of his army is lagging behind, so again, the advance is not uniform, which is going to be a problem. Tornado here is sitting back and he's looking very good. All of these Rohan forces. Oh no, those archers do still have melee, and yet they were trying to take the Royal Guard on. Melee? They still have ammo. Now the Woodland Realms are coming in, but it looks like they're making a beeline for Harad, which is exactly what neither of them need, because it means they're going to be killing one another, rather than uniting in the face of a common enemy in Rohan. And with all of these elite forces left, the Helmhammers in particular, they are largely untouched. And that means that when they get into melee against a depleted unit of elite units, the Helmhammers will be victorious. Now Harad is charging in. The Serpent Guard. Whether they get to the line in one piece without routing is anyone's guess. They are still eager though, despite this withering arrow storm. And it's fire arrows as well, so the morale malus should be kicking in. They are only up against Yawling Swordsmen though, so they will actually hold for a little while. There goes the Harad general, and yeah, the Woodland Realms player is going after Harad. That's not the right move in this situation if you want to win. You know, you should look at Rohan's army and really see that they are the ones in control of the battle with the numbers they have at the moment. There's nothing wrong with going after Harad to get revenge after the Mumakil attacked your lines, but you just have to know that you're giving victory to Rohan for your revenge. These Yawling Swordsmen, there are more of them than the Serpent Guard, but they are considerably worse in melee. Yawling Swordsmen are certainly one of those units. Like, the Axemen are what you will often see from Rohan, because they are better and armour piercing. But if you need to fill out your lines a little bit more, the Yawling Swordsmen aren't terrible. Probably better than the Rohan Spearmen anyway. There's a Hashari captain there. But yes, I'm not sure if... I guess the Harad player charging in just to try and get as many kills on Rohan as possible is a decent move. And yep, the first line of Yawling Swordsmen have been broken through by the Serpent Guard, so it's a brave last charge from the Haradrim. And the Serpent Guard are no slouches. They are a pretty damn good unit. And yet now the Southron Archers are out of ammo. Now they're charging in, trying to mop up what's left of these Yawling Swordsmen. The Helmingas are not out of ammo though, and that's going to be significant. The Helmhammers and Marshals of the Red not even deployed yet. These dismounted Serpent Guard are going to have victory. Oof. The catapults are still in effect. There's another unit of Southron Archers back there charging in. I have to say, suddenly I'm rooting for Harad somewhat, because this has been a bold charge. But now that dismounted Royal Guard are coming in, the line is going to be held, I think. And yeah, these units of Serpent Guard have overextended themselves. They did well, but ultimately they were halted. And now there's Marshals of the Red, so yeah, Serpent Guard, they're not going to do particularly well against Marshals of the Red. Very dangerous unit in melee. Serpent Guard are not the most heavily armoured unit, but even so, Marshals of the Red, their overall attack score going to be significant. Those Southron Archers are routing Rohan, mopping up what is left of Harad. It was a ballsy last charge, but ultimately Rohan's numbers did, the Woodland Realms would have needed to help Harad in this endeavour for them to have much success. Look at this. I might get another screenshot actually. Close range fighting between two shielded units. It's a real grind when this happens, but the Serpent Guard much better than the Yawling Swordsman, but the numbers here are not looking good. Let's have a look. What about the Woodland Realms? They're sort of taking up Harad's old position. Although it looks like they are... Oh, Hashari! And Demons of the Desert. I completely missed these guys. So these guys must have been hidden all this time. And now they have pounced on the Woodland Realms. Woodland Realms hoping to get a rear charge on Harad for vengeance, but it's not looking good. I mean, Hashari individually are not as good as the Elder Palace Guard, but there are a lot of them. And this is the unit that is really going to be significant. The Demons of the Desert. In melee, they are stronger than anything the elves have left now that the Elder Palace Guard are so depleted. And if they still have javelins left, like I'm not sure if they were using them early on, but if they still have javelins remaining, that could turn the tide of the battle pretty significantly. And Southron archers, they're retreating to sort of lend more numbers to this rear defence. We look back over here. Yep, the Serpent Guard have finally faltered. So Rohan have had victory, and their army is still very large, and they do still have Aerid heavy lancers, so Rohan should still win this, but Harad, very impressive. I have to say, I do like the way Harad have played this. They took on both the Woodland Realms and Rohan. Made a bold last charge, and they're being rewarded for it here in the late game. These Elder Palace Guard are falling to the Hashari. They're no joke, the Hashari. They may be pretty vulnerable to arrows, and they don't have hit points, but the attack they can deliver is so significant. And now Demons of the Desert, some Southron archers. So yeah, the Woodland Realms, they are finished. That means if the Woodland Realms and Harad had sort of had a temporary alliance to take on Rohan, Rohan would have fallen, I think. But as it is, they have fought one another, and that really puts the advantage heavily back into Rohan's court. With that cav they have left, one charge onto the Hashari is pretty much going to end Harad's resistance, unless they can get a juicy javelin volley off onto them. These Elder Palace Guard, they can't be felled by just anything. And Hashari and Demons of the Desert will do the trick. Oh my god. That was a strange animation. I do like the look of the Hashari as well. And in vanilla I was always of the opinion that they weren't as strong as they should be, but now they definitely are. Definitely an underrated unit, I think. They are very expensive, and on first look you wouldn't pick them. But I do urge you to try them if you want to be Harad, because they do fit perfectly into Harad's aggressive strategy of getting right into the enemy's face. These guys are fantastic when you flank them around. If you can get into the enemy's rear lines with the Hashari, you're sitting pretty as Harad. These Demons of the Desert though. Yes, they do still have ammo because they're holding them like that. The Rohirrim are advancing though, so this is going to be a last stand from Harad. I don't think they're going to be able to win. Purely because the Helmhammers, in the condition they're in, should still be able to take on the Demons of the Desert, and they don't have enough numbers elsewhere to hold off whatever else the Woodland Realms have. But there go the Woodland Realms. They still have one unit over here apparently. What is it? It's their catapult crew. So they are still technically on the battlefield, but a catapult crew is not going to be sufficient to... Rohan are sending in their Yawling Swordsmen first again, but they're going to get butchered by the Hashari and the Demons. So once again, bit of deja vu. Rohan sending in his lesser troops first. But they are quickly going to find themselves dead. The Demons of the Desert are throwing their javelins, but at what? Is it these Royal Guard? That's a pretty good target, if so. Royal Guard have hit points. Definitely a strong unit. And they need to find some way of evening the odds. Oh yeah, but Rohan still have missiles. No, he's going after the Marshals of the Red. That's a good target as well. But the Helmngas shooting the Hashari is going to be a real problem. Marshals of the Red are falling to these demons. Again, definitely Harad's best unit, the Demons of the Desert. They are so strong in melee. And their javelin fire is lethal as well. Definitely the best javelins in the game. By a very, very wide margin. Meanwhile, these Helmngas, they are bold to take on the Demons of the Desert in melee, but ultimately, of course, Rohan's numbers are going to pay dividends here. Demons of the Desert trying to shoot their javelins off into this blob, but look at all those Rohirrim shields. The men of the Westfold are going to have victory here today. They do still have cavalry as well, so... Where are the Helmhammers? The Helmhammers have done basically nothing this whole match. I guess they haven't needed to, though. They might be required to just sort of finally kill off these demons of the desert, because they don't go down easily. They're very much the Noldor elders of the Javelin world. Here come the Cav. They're just charging from the front. They're going through with pure mass, which is going to work. The Hishari are light infantry. These demons of the desert are trying to form up a line, and they're trying to get their javelins off, but it's not going to work. So they're going to have to just charge in and make their stand here. Demons of the Desert as well, their unit models are taller, I believe, than the standard trollmen. I might be wrong about that, but that's a fun little fact if true. I also like their weapons as well, the sort of savage, tribal-looking twin-ended sword, or twin blade. The Cav is now around to the side, but Aerid Heavy Lancers are not like particularly strong. They're a pretty good Cav unit, but certainly not one of Rohan's best. But just the fact that they're here means they're going to be able to get decent hammer and anvils off. There's still some Hishari left alive, even in the face of Marshals of the Red. Demons of the Desert getting some volleys off. You can see on the mini-map there that the catapult crew of the Woodland Realms is going to join this mosh pit pretty soon. Yes, now here come the Helmhammers. And more Helmingars. I guess that there is no place for honour in war, and the Rohan player will reap the spoils of victory this day. He will be made to bleed for it though by these demons of the desert at the end. Let's see, are the catapult crew nearly here? They're just over that hill. Defeat does seem certain for the demons of the desert. I wonder if the catapult crew will surround them as a sort of final act of vengeance on Harad, or if they will try and help Harad here at the end by taking some of the load off. Although charging into the side of even Helmingar's catapult crewmen are going to be horrendously outmatched. It's a very... Oh, here come the catapult crew. I can see their banner cresting the hill. It's not exactly the reinforcements that arrived at Helm's Deep, but it's something, and they're immediately going to get flattened by Aerid Lancers. Oh no. Well, there go the Woodland Realms. I wouldn't call that fleeing. Fleeing life, maybe. So this is it. The final stand of the demons of the desert. They will take many Rohirrim with them this day, but Harad will have to go back to the southeastern plains where they came from. These Helmhammers, I don't think they've gotten any kills. I mean, maybe if they get to the front now, they might be able to get a couple. But a rear charge here from the Aerid Heavy Lancers is going to pretty... Well, it might not do as much damage as you might expect, but it's... Well, that wasn't the best charge. Well, there goes a... One of them went flying. That is a really goofy animation, I love it. Defeat seems certain. There is no battle line anymore, they're being surrounded. May as well speed it up, to be fair. At least a ×2. They're so tough that they take so long going down. I mean, it doesn't help that Yawling Swordsmen are the ones primarily at the front trying to deal with them. Now there are some Helmhammers, and they are starting to fall now. Only 3 left. Helmingars, Yawling Swordsmen, Dismounted Royal Guard, Helmhammers, Aerid Lancers, Marshals of the Red as well. All of these Rohan shields. Is that the last one? No, there's still one more, and he's over here. And he died. Rohan are victorious by a pretty wide margin. That's quite a lot of men they have left. So again, if 3 players are just fighting it out and allow you to sit there, you're obviously going to win. The most kills went to Harad, and the least went to the High Elves, although the Elves were fighting one another. But Harad did very well, I feel. So this is, of course, the Woodland Realms, so we can have a look. The Woodland Realms player was the one that sent it in, so I will have a look at what his units did. The cavalry for him did pretty damn well. Obviously, they shut down the Harad Cav. They did pretty well against the High Elven Cav as well, but they strayed too close to the High Elven archers and found themselves paying for that. The Elder Royal Council got a lot of kills. The Elder Palace Guard got even more. Very strong in the late game, but ultimately not enough. Found themselves surrounded by Hishari at the end. So yeah, that was a free-for-all, and of course the main purpose of this was to see if I can make the videos with the new software in slightly better quality. So do let me know if you prefer this or the old one, because I do still have both softwares on my computer. And next I think we will be doing the Minas Tirith Siege at last. So hopefully that'll be a nice 8-player Battle of Minas Tirith, hopefully good versus evil as well. So I hope you'll join me for that, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed this.